claimants. I think the function is being closed at that. Oh, good. I thought there was a bad resonance in this hall. Ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed an immense privilege to stand before you here today, representing Department of Information Technology, Government of India, more specifically the National E-Governance Division. Today, I believe there were 54 awards given out. One is a Citizen's Choice, a parallel one which is chosen by the jury. It amused me to think, how could there be two selections? If all the initiatives are meant for the citizens, how could jury have a different opinion than that of the citizens, the main beneficiaries of the awards? However, I think there must be a reason as to why this moderation was done. India, as we all know, is a very complex country, huge subcontinent of 1.2 billion people. We speak 1,000 languages, 1,000 dialects, 100 languages, out of which 22 are official. 95% of the business we do is in English, whereas only 5% of the citizens understand English. That is one level of complexity. I believe close to 70% live in the rural areas with very tenuous connectivity, with very little broadband connections. There's a second level of complexity. Third level, given the power availability situation, on any given day, I guess at least what is officially claimed is 8 hours of power supply in the rural areas. I'm not too sure, because even in Delhi we have power cuts. All e-governance, why did the Union Cabinet come out with this policy of e-governance in 2006? What does it stand for? To simply put it, there are just two indicators by which we measure the success or the outcomes of this program. First is, what percentage of the government services are web-enabled out of the total universe of services? It's called an A-class state, with about close to 7 crore or 8 crore. I'm not too sure of the figure of the population here. In Andhra Pradesh alone, the state government would be offering close to 3,000 services in manual form. So when we measure the deployment of e-governance applications, we would like to measure out of the 3,000 manual processes, how many are web-enabled. Second indicator by which we measure the success of the outcomes is what percentage of the population have access to web services. When we keep these two parameters or in the matrix form and try to measure what has been the achievement so far as compared to the 54 awards which have just been given away, and we have multiple awards being given each year by different institutions, including CSDMA1 is one of the prestigious ones. Close to 1,000 entries come for each one of these awards. 1,000 applications, e-governance applications. However, when we measure against this matrix of what percentage of citizens have benefited and out of how many services are these initiatives web-enabled, I think what we get is entirely different picture. What is important as we gather here today and celebrate these successes is also to understand as to why these successes are not replicated elsewhere. Punjab Technical University today, for instance, has won 2 distinguished awards. Now the question that a citizen needs to ask or a student needs to ask is, what is good for students of Punjab? Is it not relevant enough for students of technical education in other states of the country? If Technical University of Punjab has developed and won this prestigious award, and they won it even in citizen selection, that is, the students have accepted that this is a fantastic deployment of technology for enabling services to the students. If the students have judged this as one of the finest products of technology deployment, then why cannot it be deployed elsewhere in the country by all technological universities? That is first question I think each one of us need to ask ourselves during the deliberations. I believe tomorrow also all of you are going to be in several tracks discussing similar issues. Second, as a citizen, I feel extremely proud, immensely proud. There's no country on the face of this earth which over the past 5 years has consistently shown a rate of growth of 8% in GDP. No democratic country has grown at that pace of huge, faster pace of growth in economic development. None. There's none. In fact, we're an envy of several countries, including most developed countries in the world. And 8% it means, I'm not an economist, but I was told by an economist friend, if we sustain this for the next another 5 years, our average income would have grown up by almost double at this rate of growth. Now take this figure and put it in perspective to what Administrative Reforms Commission has said. Administrative Reforms Commission, which just concluded and gave its report to the President of India, clearly states the transaction costs within the society are far too high. A transaction cost to seek a service in manual form. And the Commission concludes, by deploying the technology, we could ramp up the growth of our economy by almost 400 basis points. 400 basis points. What does that mean? That means instead of annual rate of growth of 8%, our growth percentage could have been at 12%, close to China, almost crossing China. China is a communist country, we are a democracy. Despite being a democracy, if we had reduced the transaction costs, we could have ramped up our growth by another 4% or 400 basis points. Now let me talk about the transaction cost. I'll just narrate. This is all empirical data. I could share it with any one of you who would like to read further. First is, the Honorable Minister, Ms. Sangma, was here. She represents one of the finest programs the country ever had, which is the Employment Guarantee Scheme. Employment Guarantee Scheme, or the Act itself, mandates all wages are mandatorily paid into the bank account and they cannot be paid in cash. Within our country, several of you, I'm not too sure how many of you know, we have a huge country of 640,000 villages, 6.4 lakh villages. Number of banks, and I specifically take this instance because State Bank of India today won an award. The number of rural branches in the country are not more than 30,000. 30,000 branches for 6.4 lakh villages. I'm not talking of urban areas. I'm entirely talking about rural areas. 30,000 rural banks for 6.4 lakh villages. Now let us get back to the NREGA wages which are deposited in one of these rural